All right, here we go. The handstand is the single most important basic acrobatic movement. It helps build balance and strength, but also builds inverted proprioception, which is knowing where you are while you're upside down. The better your inverted proprioception is, the better your acrobatics will be, because pretty much everything in acrobatics goes upside down at some point. So get those handstands down. Let's do it. That's really scary. Today, we're going to be working on handstands. For this, you're going to just need some open space anywhere that you can kind of flop around a little bit and not run into anything. We're also going to need a wall. So find a nice wall that's sturdy enough that you're hopefully not going to go through it. Make sure there's nothing around you for you to land on, and let's get started. When you're doing handstands, your wrists are going to take a little bit of a beating. So the first thing that we're going to do is just a nice general wrist warm-up. So let's start with wrists all the way down and all the way up and all the way down and all the way up. Do that a couple of times. Then we're going to make little circles one way with the wrists and circles the other way with the wrists. Then put them together, circle everything up. Other way. And other way. Other way one more time. Cool. Now we're going to take this down onto our hands and knees, putting a little bit of weight on your wrist, starting to kind of get used to that because that's what we're going to be doing when we're doing handstands. I just want you to lean it forward a little until you feel a little bit of a stretch in your forearms, and then pull it back. And lean it forward, and pull it back, and forward, and back. 2 more times. Forward, and back, and forward, and back. Then we're going to make some circles one direction here. Try to keep your hands nice and firmly planted on the ground so you can feel this stretching all the way around. 2 more circles this way. And then we'll go the other direction. Don't push this so hard that it hurts. You just want to put a little bit of pressure on the wrists so that they can get used to what we're going to be doing in a minute. One more time. Awesome. So now your wrist should be feeling pretty decent. We're going to do a little flexibility test. So when you go into a handstand, your hands are going to have to be completely flat against the ground if you want to get a full upright handstand. So you should be flexible enough. If you put your arms together like this, you should be able to open your hands up and make a full 180-degree T. If you cannot do that, that means your wrists are not flexible enough to be able to do a handstand very comfortably. So we're going to stretch that a little bit. Usually you don't really want to stretch before doing exercise, but because this requires some of that flexibility, we are going to hit this stretch just a little bit. Putting your hands together down here like this, lift it up. Try to keep the palms of your hands together and drop your elbows as far as you can. I'm just going to hold this for about 15 seconds or so. Don't push it so hard that it hurts again. Just push it until you kind of get a little bit of a feeling there. You can move it around a little if you need. Just feel a good stretch. And relax it. That stretch will be really important if you want to get good at handstands. So now that our wrists are ready to go, let's do some handstands. When you first start working handstands, it can be a little bit scary. There is a chance that you will tip over forward. A lot of people are worried about that, and reasonably so. When you're working on this kind of stuff at home, make sure you've got something relatively soft that you can land on. If all you're working with is like a hardwood floor, then maybe you can find something. Nice toss. Like a blanket. If you take a blanket and just fold it up a few times, I feel like it'll make a nice, relatively soft thing that you could land on. So if you want to get used to this, maybe give yourself some kind of a little pad. And what I would recommend starting with is maybe just doing a roll on this little pad. Feels pretty good. Cool. Now can you bring it up a little bit higher? Can you kind of like kick into that and roll down? As long as you're comfortable with that, then you'll probably be okay falling out of any handstand. Alternatively, the best way that you can actually come out of a handstand is just to turn down and finish it basically like a cartwheel, like so. That can take a little bit more practice though, but if you practice it a few times, it's really not that bad. Now we're going to get into our first actual handstand work, and we're going to do what's called a rock up. For the rock up, we're going to start in a nice kind of squatted down tuck position down here. You want your feet to be completely together. You're going to keep your feet together for this entire drill. Never let them come apart. Hands down in front of you like this. All you're going to do is lean forward and just kind of jump a little bit off your feet. Really thinking about what your hips are doing. You want to lift your hips up in the air. Just like that. A couple of times. Lift, back down. I'm going to show you from the other side as well. So again, starting in a squatting position like this, you can be up on your toes, keep those feet together, hands out in front of you, lean into it, push the weight on your hands, lift your hips up. Cool. Now that you guys know how to do that, we're going to do 5 of them and try to do them slow and controlled like me. So here we go, 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Awesome. Now here's a couple of challenges for you if you want to take these a little farther. If those felt good, feel free to keep doing a couple more of those. But if that felt relatively easy, first challenge is to try to hold that handstand while tucked. Hopefully like this. Shit. It's okay. We'll cut that out in post. That's the good thing about doing like the editing with the punches in and stuff. Like this doesn't matter. We can just cut it out later. I'm just going to try a couple of these. I'm going to get a good one. Oh, no, not quite. Oh, yeah. It could be a whole bunch. Oh, there we go. Cool. Awesome. I'm going to turn around so you can see it from this side. The next challenge is to try to get a handstand extension after that tuck. So it's going to be tuck up, extend to a full handstand, and try to hold it for a bit before tucking back down and coming back down again. That should look something like this. Shit. It was so close, too. Nope. Here we go. I'm going to do a couple more, though. Elbows bent the whole time. God. Don't hold your breath like me either. It makes this a lot harder. Ha-ha. So that's the rock up. All right, let's move on. Now we're going to do basically the same motion, but from a straddle position instead of from a tuck position. So your straddle position means feet nice and wide, knees straight. You can bend your knees a little bit if you need to. We're not working flexibility here. We just want to be in this position. You're going to reach down in front of you, get your hands on the ground. If you're not flexible enough to get into this position, then feel free to bring your feet closer together, bend your knees more. Again, the actual straddle position doesn't necessarily matter as much. And we're going to try to do the same idea as what we did with the rock up. So maintain the straddle as well as you can and just lift your feet up off the ground and then back down again. Try to control the motion. You're not trying to fall down, but I want you to nice and slowly lower yourself back down. Let's try to do 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we can really start getting into some of that inverted proprioception that we mentioned earlier. So what we're going to try to do is combine the rock up and the straddle up kind of at the same time together. We're going to start with a tuck up, straddle down. So starting your tuck position, lift it up. Once you're upside down, open it to the straddle and bring it back down. We're going to try this one 5 times as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, last one, 5. Now we're going to do that same thing the other way. So we're going to straddle up and then tuck down. And we're going to do 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, last one, 5. Cool. Now I want you guys to try something. This is called a straddle float. All we're going to try to do is to lift our feet a tiny, tiny, tiny bit off the ground. I think you'll be able to see it better from this direction, so I'm going to show you here. The way this is going to work, get into your straddle, hands on the ground. You're just going to lean forward and push into your fingertips as hard as you can. As you do that, your weight's going to start to come off of your feet. Just push, 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 and try to float just a little bit like that. It's fairly difficult, but if you can do that, it's a really good step to get into a full straddle press to a handstand. So now you've got your straddle ups. The next drill that we're going to do is help you out with your balance in your handstand. What you're going to need is a wall. Find a wall that's pretty strong that you're not going to put your feet through, especially if you're doing this in your own home. We are going to review very quickly the hollow and arch shapes. So for a hollow shape, you want to be like so with your butt backwards. And for an arch shape, you want to be like so with your hips forwards. Hollow, arch, hollow, arch. With that, we're going to go down into a push-up position with your feet just next to the wall. I'm going to go through those exact same positions now. So hollow is lifting up and arch is sinking down. Let's go through this 3 times. Hollow, arch, hollow, arch, hollow, and arch. Now I want you to put your feet on the wall. And we're going to do the same thing. Hollow and arch. And hollow and arch. Hollow and arch. Now pull it back. Walk your hands back. Walk your feet up the wall. Same thing again. Hollow, arch. Hollow, arch. Hollow, arch. Walk it back a little bit more if you can. One more time. 3 of these. Hollow, arch. Hollow, arch. Hollow, and arch. All right, bring it back down. While you're doing this stuff, make sure you keep your wrists nice and limber. They are going to get a little bit tight. If you ever need to take a break, give your wrists a little bit of a chance to come back to it, feel free. We got one more thing that we're going to do with this, though, once our wrists are feeling good. I want you to try to go all the way back up, kind of as high as you can. Then we're going to try to hollow it really far until your balance point makes it so that your hips are directly over your shoulders or even in front of your shoulders. If that happens, your feet are going to naturally start to come away from the wall. You should not have to kick your feet away from the wall. They're just going to fall away from the wall. So get relatively close, up into that handstand, and just try to hollow, 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 until your feet come off the wall. Nice. Keep working that for a little while if you want to. You can pause the video and keep doing it and come back to this later. We're going to move on. This next drill that we're going to do is a little bit more complicated. If you've gone through the rest of this video and you're thinking, oh man, this is pretty difficult, I don't know if I can go any farther, then just keep working on the things that we've been doing. Work your rock ups, work your straddle ups, work some of those hollow and arch drills against the wall. If you're feeling good and you're like, okay, I'm getting this, this feels all right, my wrist can keep going a little bit, we're going to go back to the wall again. Very similar to what we were doing before, but instead of just focusing on your hips, we're going to take this even farther and get a little bit more balance into it. So back up to your handstand. And you're going to extend one leg out behind you. Use that leg to find your balance position, and your goal from here is to switch your feet nice and controlled without falling down. Try it a few times. I have found this is one of the best drills for me to be able to maintain my balance in a handstand. You're using a lot of different muscles to keep yourself up there, and there's a lot of movement happening, which could make you fall forwards. If you're not comfortable with falling forwards, you might not want to do that drill just yet, but it's a great drill for getting good at your handstands. This next drill is not so much going to work on the balance for the handstand, but it's going to work on the control for actually kicking up into a handstand. So we're going to go back to our wall one more time. This time, we're not going to face this direction though. We're going to face towards the wall. I want you to put your hands about 6 or 8 inches or so from the wall, and you're going to kick yourself up, trying to get all the way up into the handstand, but you are not going to touch the wall. So kick as hard as you can, but do not touch the wall. While you're doing this, make sure your head stays up. You should be looking at the corner where the wall and the floor meet. When you're doing a regular handstand, you should be looking at your fingertips pretty much the whole time, so this is just going to simulate that. If you let your head come down, you're going to fall into the wall, so do not do that. So it should look something like this. Hands down about 6 inches away or so, kicking yourself up, don't touch the wall, and then come back down. We're going to do 10 of those kicks on each leg. So pick a foot, put it down in front, reaching your hands out. If you want to start all the way down here, that is perfectly okay too. 10 kicks. Let's go for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Give your wrists a little bit of a break. Keep them moving. Now we're going to work the other side. Chances are the other side is probably going to be your offside. It's maybe not going to work as well. That's okay. If you do end up hitting the wall, it's not a big deal. Unless you put a hole in the wall, don't do that. So let's get 10 kicks with the other foot in front now. Go for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Awesome. With that drill, you're going to get used to kicking up just the right amount to be able to actually hold your handstands. The next thing that we're going to work on is everybody's favorite handstand drill. It's called cherry pickers. Cherry pickers are great for working on the strength in your shoulders to be able to hold up a handstand and eventually to be able to get into a one-handed handstand. So we're going to need the wall again. We're going to face away from the wall like we did earlier. Come all the way up into your handstand. Once you're here, you're going to lift up one hand and touch the same shoulder. Then lift up the other hand and touch the same shoulder on that side. That would be one repetition of a cherry picker. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. We are going to try to do 20 of them. If you can do this all in one session against the wall, fantastic. If you can't, if you have to come down, roll your wrists out, pop back up, that's fine. Just try to get 20 of these. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do this in a couple of sets. Give you guys a little bit of time to break. Remember, keep working the wrists, roll them out. Don't want to put too much pressure on them. Take a couple of deep breaths. Let's burn out 10 more. Back up. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. If you got through all of those, you're doing awesome. We got just one more basic handstand drill that we're going to work on, and then we're going to get some actual freestanding handstands. It's one of the most complicated ones and difficult that we do. This is to work your inverted proprioception. So what we're going to do is kick up to a wall somewhere. You can go forwards, you can go backwards, whichever way you're more comfortable. Once you're up there, you're going to try to turn all the way around in your handstand. This sounds easy, and I'm probably going to even make it look relatively easy, but there's a good chance you guys are going to fall down in some random direction doing this. So make sure you've got plenty of space around you if you're going to attempt this. Here's what it looks like. There you go. Give it a try. Try it a whole bunch if you want. Eventually, you'll get really good at that. It's just a matter of figuring out where you are while you're upside down, that inverted proprioception, which is super important. Now that we're through all that, the only thing that we really have left to do is handstands on the ground. Freestanding handstands. One of the best ways to get good at handstands is just to do handstands. So after you've done all this stuff, you're through the workout, what I want you to do is just find some space, kick up to a handstand, try to hold it as long as you can. Give yourself a good 5-10 minutes or so and just try to hold handstands as much as you can.